Cinnabon is sleeping soundly. Yep. So I had a request to do a video about Bitcoin. And this may have been prompted by me mentioning Bitcoin in a previous video. I can't remember if I have. I probably have because I do have an interest in it. So somebody asked for it, and ask and ye shall receive. So I guess I start out by talking about currency. I have some currency here. This is older money that I've collected over the years. I left out $1 and $2 bills because most people have probably seen those, and I'm sure you've all seen these before, but these are all older. So currency, obviously, is something one has that's backed up by something that they use for purchases. This is cash, American cash, old American cash. I like this old school style of the old American bills. Do you like it too, buddy? Okay. So we have an old $5 bill. The 5 I got back when I worked at Dollar General. It's from 1950, and it's called the star note because there's a star next to the serial number. The star means that the original 5 was imperfect, so they destroyed it and made a replacement one. That's my understanding of it anyway. We have a 10 from 1990. It's my birth year, so that's kind of special. We also have a $20 bill from 1963. That's my parents' birth year, so that's also special. It's also very cool. I have another one from 1934, which is really neat. We also have a Grant $50 bill, Ulysses S. Grant, from 1985. It's pretty cool. And last but not least, we have the big boy, Mr. Ben Franklin from 1990. It's pretty cool. I carry a $100 bill from 1977 in my wallet because, one, it's backup cash, and two, I like to have it for emergencies. Haven't had to use it yet, but it's always good to have some cash at least to fill your gas tank. That's a good rule, So $50 to $100, whatever. Everyone should have some cash on hand, just in case. You never know. Sir, we don't accept your debit card, or there's something wrong with your debit card, or what if you're on vacation and your debit card or credit card gets hacked and maybe you lose something and need cash. So cash is king, right? So that wraps up my little cash spiel. And I also like to carry the 1977 100 to tell people if I time travel, that's what that's for, so I can buy Star Wars toys from the 70s. It's just kind of fun. So Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. I don't want to get into too much about cryptocurrency because it's super crazy topic, but cryptocurrency, I think of it as an alternative to PayPal. A lot of you probably know what PayPal is if you buy something on eBay or if you buy something from someone that's in another state. You pay them via PayPal. You either have money in it already or it's linked with your bank account. So you send person X $50 for a bicycle part, whatever you're buying. I don't know. Maybe they sell blankets or home decor or maybe a metal dog, whatever. You pay them. There's an element of trust because you pay them typically first. They send you the item. So that's an online transaction. Bitcoin is very much the same, as in you use it for the exchange of goods and services or whatever, or to buy goods and services. Person X is selling you something, you pay them in Bitcoin. They give you their Bitcoin wallet address, and you use an exchange, or however an exchange or a wallet, and you send the person the money, and then they send you the object or the service or whatever you're buying. The beauty of it is that all anyone knows is that wallet X sent money to wallet X received money from wallet X. Now, nobody knows exactly who is behind the wallets. You might be able to find out, but no one should know. And that's the beauty of it. It's fairly private, and I have an appreciation for that. If I buy a car or whatever and send money to the seller, it's nobody else's business of the transaction, and Bitcoin helps with that. And there's other cryptocurrencies that are far better at that than Bitcoin is, but Bitcoin is by far the most popular. There's Litecoin, Ethereum, but Bitcoin's the most popular. Yeah. Also, Bitcoin has no politics behind it. Bitcoin doesn't close like the bank does. Bitcoin's not open from 8 to 5. Bitcoin's open all the time, and depending on the exchanges you use. If you wanted to send somebody in a country that America, or let's just assume you're an American and you want to send money to a friend or family in a country that has political issues with America, let's say Iran or Cuba, Bitcoin doesn't care about that. Bitcoin will still allow you to send money to anyone in the world. Obviously, this can be abused by criminals. What isn't? What great invention is not abused by criminals? The internet is abused by criminals as well as used by everyone to great advantage. Same with firearms and vehicles. I mean, every great invention has an equal, has equal good and bad, just like anything. Newton's law, right? So, off that spiel. But the main beauty of Bitcoin is you can be more anonymous in your purchases. One example I'll use is I moved a large sum of money between two exchanges / wallets. I'm gonna keep the specifics out, but it was in the, I would say, it was in the mid 4 figures, so it wasn't crazy. But I moved that amount, just you want to diversify, right? So I moved it, and as far as the world is concerned, that transaction was between me and somebody else, or nobody really knows, because it was two entities basically that happened to be under my control. But if you do this at a bank, the fees would be pretty crazy, especially if it was through another country. And there's a time you got to wait. With Bitcoin, it was maybe a minute or less, seconds, and that's all dependent on the exchange. It's not an inherent flaw with Bitcoin, but it didn't take long at all. And the fee was like 4 to 6 cents, which to me, 4 to 6 cents, just round, average a nickel, that's nothing. If you look around long enough at a parking lot, you'll find that on the ground. So, and there's other ways to do it totally fee-free. As time goes on, Bitcoin's being adopted more and more. The parent company of the New York Stock Exchange, ICE, just announced that later in September, so in a little over or less than a month from now, they're going to launch a program called BACT, which will allow people to invest into Bitcoin for the 401k. I'm not going to say that's a good or bad idea because I don't give any financial advice. But anytime there's institutional interest amongst the retail investors, such as I guess myself, it tends to spike the value. And just a quick short background of Bitcoin, I was aware of it in 2011. I knew what it was because there was a website called the Silk Road, and didn't buy anything from there because you could probably, if you don't already know, that was an online place where you could buy all kinds of bad material like drugs and stuff. But it was interesting navigating that. It was like eBay for drugs. Bitcoin at the time, and even today, was used heavily by criminals, and it's just like cash is really. It doesn't really matter. You can't help who uses it. But I was browsing that site just for giggles. My brother and I were looking at it, like, look, people buying heroin on this site. How crazy is that? It was really crazy. Eventually, it was shut down. The point is, Bitcoin at that time was probably 20 cents per. This was 2011, so for 20, 25 cents or whatever it was in 2011, it ranged a little bit, probably over $1 later in the year. But one Bitcoin was well under $1. And today, Bitcoin, I checked, was over $10,000 for one. In 2017, early 2017, I think it was under 1,000. And then late 2017, it spiked just under 20,000. Pretty interesting watching it go up and down, up and down. And I really believe that within the next couple of years, it'll get higher. I won't say exactly because I'm not going to get into predictions, but there are people that think it'll be $100,000 in a year. There are people who think it'll be over $1 million in a year, which I think is a little high, really high actually. I don't think it's going to be that, but it's interesting. I think the beauty of it is there is a fixed supply. There's only 21 million Bitcoins in the world and only ever will be 21 million. And there's actually less than that because people either pass away and they don't let anyone know they have them, or they just lose the keys, or they lose their computer that had it on there. They get locked out of their accounts and it's gone. There's no central authority that really watches it, which is there's pros and cons to it, of course. So there's less than 21 million. There will always be no more than 21 million out there. And there's always going to be less because people can't get it back. So supply and demand, as demand goes up, and the demand of it really drives the value. People like to accept it. And AT&T recently announced that they're taking it for their bills now. I think Microsoft accepts it, or they're going to. Starbucks is supposed to be in the near future. They're working on a medium to easily use it. You can buy like BitPay debit cards or acquire them to pay with Bitcoin. Currently, I don't really use Bitcoin to buy. I'm purely an investor, but in the future, I very well may use it if there's incentives to, and I think there will be in time. I think Starbucks is looking into the incentives of it because as they acquire Bitcoin, they can hold it in the reserve or whatever and just make bank later just on holding it. So that's my Bitcoin spiel. It's going to be a little all over the place. And I know a lot of you are not interested in it, But if you're interested in finance at all, that's it's pretty interesting. If you do invest money, Bitcoin is very speculative. I hope I didn't bore you to death. A lot of people are, ask about it, and just Google it. If you have any questions, search it, because I'm not an expert on it. I just know, what I've experienced, some of the philosophical aspects of it, but I'm not the right one to ask a lot of questions about it. Just throwing that out there. So, there's a ton of Bitcoin videos. This is not by any means going to be a Bitcoin channel at all. I don't want to be a Bitcoin channel. I just wanted to mention it. So there we go. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something, right? That's what we all want to do. Here's a cool bill from 1953. Isn't it cool because it's red? Got a red seal there, red serial numbers. Don't know exactly what the red means, but I found this years ago. Pretty interesting. It was probably from Dollar General when I worked there. You get all kinds of cool cash. When I would find cool cash, I would just pocket it. Just kidding. Now, whenever I would find cool cash or coins working there, I would just, take a $5 out of my wallet or whatever and just swap it out. One thing I just remembered to talk about with Bitcoin is a lot of people think they're going to just make bank with it and they just want to cash out as soon as they can. I don't think that's necessarily, I don't care what people do. It's their own money, their own life. But I wouldn't get into it just to make money. I think it goes a little deeper than that, because when I first got into it, I was initially made a lot of money. I never cashed out, so I can't say I made money, but I accumulated a lot of money through it, and then I held on to it, and it kept on buying more, and then it more or less crashed a little bit. It had a dip, it went down, and then I continued to buy more, and for a while I was probably down a bit, but overall would have lost money, and then it kind of stayed even for a while. I just kind of I just held on to it, and eventually I started to get ahead, and then it probably, I gotta say, I've at least doubled my initial investment, at least, which is pretty good for over the course of a couple years. Honestly, that's pretty phenomenal. Not to say it's always going to do that, but I think after this year we're going to see some more gains. But a lot of people say, I'm going to cash out, put into cash, whatever, which, sure, you can do that if you want. But remember, when you do that, you got to pay capital gains in that. In the U.S., taxes, they will tax you to death, but you got to pay them. So anyway, so you might not necessarily even have to cash out. If you accumulate a bunch of Bitcoin, what if in a couple years almost everyone accepts it? Then there's no reason you need to cash out, right? Be like having a big stack of cash, why bring it to the bank when you can just use the cash? I get why sometimes, if you want to pay with a check or whatever, but we're buying, whatever. Cash is king. Bitcoin is sort of a form of cash. It's not credit, that's for dang sure. So it's real money, or is it? A lot of people use the argument, well, it's not backed by anything, and this is backed by the U.S. government. Yeah, but they can print at will. I think at one point it was backed by gold. Now I don't believe it's backed by anything but except for government. Most cash is that way. But Bitcoin, the beauty of it is it's backed by just the demand and its security. Right now, I don't think it'll have an issue from a security standpoint. Inherently, it won't. There are some exchanges that go bad. You just got to be very careful which exchange you use. Stick with the big one. But even that can bite you. So you got to be careful with that. But again, you might not need to cash out because you can just use Bitcoin for everything. Hi, Cinnabon. Morning, little buddy. You just ate some wet cat food, so don't want to play too rough right now, right? Oh, but I can pet you. Yeah. You want to go downstairs, buddy? Okay. Let's see where Cinnabon wants to go. You want to go downstairs? Your favorite steps? Remember, buddy, you just ate. Don't want to get too riled up. Okay, don't want to overwork yourself. Don't want to overdo it. Oh, burr. Got it. Ugh. Hi, cutie. Hello. Peekaboo. Oh, gotta wash my chest. He's obsessive about cleaning himself, I think. Oh, what a nice little... Got your feet. Got your feet. It's dangerous doing that. He'll get you. On the subject of money, here's an example of a useless currency. The old Soviet money. There's a change. This is... Any value in this is purely of historical value. This pile here is probably worth, I'm sure, not even $1 US, maybe at most. The same goes for North Korean money. Won, I think, North Korea won. So this is an example where a currency backed by a country can go wrong. Not to say the US will have that issue. I don't think it will. If it will, it'll be well beyond our time, but just thought I'd put that in there. No Bitcoin in this table. Well, Cinnabon's finally settled down. We're going to go ahead and let him sleep. Night, buddy.